players at the worst possible time, and this injury could derail our campaign. Let's not sugarcoat these people. An injury to Eberechi Eze is a massive, massive problem for Arsenal. We're talking about a player who in recent weeks have become one of the most important attacking outlets for the team. His goal against Bayern Leverkusen was a stroke of genius. Then there was the game against Mansfield where he turned up from the bench and smashed home the goal that took us to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. We are basically in the quarterfinals against Southampton because of the exploits of Eze. We all know that in the springtime, Eze is a different flavor. Right from the Crystal Palace days, and he carried that same form to Arsenal. He has been someone that has been very influential for us, not just in goals and assists, but actually how we function in the final third. And now, he's gone for potentially 6 weeks. So first, let's even understand, the importance of this, starting with the injury itself. Sammy Mokbel is one of those, renowned journalists out there that, actually gives, good information when it comes to Arsenal. And on his Twitter or X, he explained that Eberechi Eze is set to miss key games in Arsenal's trophy running amid initial concerns that he might miss around a month with the calf injury, Martin Odegaard nearing a return to availability. And the scary part about this all is the fact that the injury was quite innocuous. We were leading 2-0. He got the ball, moved around with it. He had a chance to pass the ball to Bukayo Saka, but he chose to shoot the ball himself. And I think he pulled up shots because shortly afterwards he was subbed. Little did we know that this injury would be so bad that he was going to miss the Carabao Cup final. You saw how important he is to us. In the Carabao Cup final, Kai Havertz played in his position, had that big chance early in the game that he missed. I was just telling my friend that if we had Eze in that same position, it would have been a different proposition entirely. But if buts and maybes, we can't really say that much. But what we know for sure is that between 4 weeks to 6 weeks, Arsenal is going to be without Eberechi Eze, and that's really a big problem. Trust me. So first of all, you need to understand what Eze brings to this team. He's not just a winger or a number 10. Eberechi Eze is a chaos creator. He's a player who breaks defensive lines with his carries. Eberechi Eze knows how to hold on to the ball and make an impact in the final third. He draws fouls in very dangerous areas because of the fact that he's so silky with the ball that defenders tend to tackle him, right when they're trying to aim for the ball. He's also very, very good one-on-one, 1v1. He can beat his man consistently. And one of the best parts is that he adds unpredictability in tight games. You saw what happened against Leverkusen. The game was relatively poised. And from nowhere, man, he received the pass from Trossard outside the box and smashed it in. I would even like to look at his recent form for us this campaign, because Eze has been in excellent form for Arsenal. And without him, clearly, you can see the impact of him missing out. The game against Man City was a very clear indicator of how badly we missed Eze. So looking at Eze's recent form, he had a goal against Leverkusen, played very well against Everton, had a goal against Mansfield, scored a brace in the North London derby where we smashed Tottenham 4-1, and he also created 2 assists against Wigan. When Arsenal gets stuck, and we usually get stuck because he plays low blocks against us a lot, Eze is the kind of player that unlocks things for us. Without him, Arsenal has a risk of becoming more predictable. Arsenal becomes more system reliant. Arsenal becomes easier to defend against, and in big games that are dangerous. We just saw what happened in the Carabao Cup final. In the middle, we had nothing to offer. Kai Havertz was not in the game. Declan Rice wasn't in the game. That was the kind of game that Eberechi Eze would have really turned up in. But unfortunately, he was injured And because of that, we couldn't use the services. Now, this is where it gets really interesting for Mikel Arteta because replacing Eze isn't about swapping personnel. It's about replacing a profile that Arsenal does not have in abundance. Eze gives us ball carrying, Eze gives us individual brilliance, Eze gives us final thought improvisation. This is something that we have lacked in his absence. This is something that the players within the current squad don't have, especially ball carrying. The only person that I believe that has that ball carrying ability right now in the squad is someone that hardly plays, which is Miles Kelly, especially in midfield. Gabriel Martinelli always places his head on the ground, hardly goes back his marker. Bukayo Saka, on the other hand, is in a very poor run of form. So our attackers are basically structured, positionally disciplined, system players. Now we don't have any choice. Typically having Eze would have been amazing for us, but what do we do? There are two main options. Either we keep the system and lose the spark, which basically means plugging in a more disciplined player in Eze's position, but losing out on unpredictability that he gives us, or tweaking the shape to compensate a lack of dribbling and creativity. Like with Eze out, Odegaard out, our creativity has been very terrible. But as it stands, we have to look for ways within to mitigate this situation. And we also have a couple of folks in the chat. Dom, good evening, brother. He says, I think not having him or Odegaard was a big factor in our ability to create chance, chaos, yes, and keep possession to change the tempo of the game, and which was very crucial on Sunday. And Dom, you are spot on. We lacked creativity and we lacked chaos in that game. Who knows? Maybe if Kai Havertz has scored that goal, maybe that positivity would have come. But as the game progressed, it was clear that Arsenal had no answers to what Man City were going to do. And unfortunately, right in the middle of the pack, there was nothing that could come up from it, which was quite sad to see, actually. Now, this brings me to a very important question. Who replaces Eberechi Eze in the squad? Mikel Merino is injured. If Anwanere was sent to Marseille, had a good goal over the weekend, by the way. That leaves us with basically two options. Our captain, Martin Odegaard, and of course, Kai Havertz, who is just returning from injury. Havertz has not played a whole lot of games since he joined us this campaign because for the best part of a very long time he was out injured. So as you would expect, Arsenal has to manage his minutes because he's going to be very crucial to us in the running. With us losing Eze right now, we need to rely on the likes of Kai Havertz and of course Martin Odegaard to come up with the goods. Odegaard is one that has had a very, very terrible season. From 2 shoulder injuries to a host of knee injuries, he has been in and out of the sides and he has really struggled for form and fitness. Right now the prayer is that he's going to be available for the game against Southampton, but that's just us being extremely optimistic. He clearly missed out on international football with Norway this window, but right now everything has to come through Odegaard. He's our chance creator. He dictates tempo. He creates a lot of final passes or final third passes. But the issue is that he tries with runners around him. And this is provided that, but obviously we don't have that anymore. So Arsenal is going to really have an uphill task looking for how to replace Eze. But we have the likes of Odegaard and Havertz that we can potentially trust to actually come up with the goods. So the question now is, how does this affect our title race? As you know for sure, Arsenal is currently first in the Premier League on 70 points, 9 ahead of Man City. Arsenal is also in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, a double-legged clash against Sporting CP, and Arsenal is also in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, an away clash to tricky Southampton. With Eze out of this squad, we're losing him at a very important stretch of the season. Right now, Eze has already missed the Carabao Cup final against Man City. He's going to miss international break with England. He's going to miss the Southampton game on the FA Cup. He would also miss the Champions League first leg against Sporting CP in Lisbon, Jose Avenat Stadium. He's going to miss the Premier League clash, all important one against Bournemouth. He's going to miss the second leg of the Sporting CP game. He's going to miss our most important game of the season, which is Man City away on April 19th. And potentially he may be back for the Newcastle game. But if he misses the Newcastle game, then maybe he can target the Fulham game. You can see the amount of key and important games that we have that Eze is not going to be available for selection. Of course, we did it in the Champions League as well and the FA Cup. They kind of games that decide titles for us, and we need players that can create something out of nothing, players that have those individual brilliance, which Eberechi Eze is. But unfortunately, he's not available for selection. Without him, there's a potential for us to start dropping points in low margin games where everything keep very deep blocks against us. We know that our kryptonite has always been deep blocks, and Eze was one that could help us out of it. You see what happened in the Leverkusen game between the deep block and he punished them with that excellent strike. In the Champions League, it even hurts more because at that level, systems cancel each other out and games are decided in moments. And we all know that Eze is a moments player. As I've taken him out, he has to start relying on structure once again. And sometimes structure don't win away ties. So it's very sad to see how Eberechi Eze is out from us, and more from Dom. Dom talking about how he understood the decision to start Havertz, but City countered the threat well. I agree. The painful part of this whole thing was that Havertz had the opportunity to actually score an early goal, but that didn't happen. Then Dom also speaks about how Saka can be an option at the 10. But in all honesty, I'm not really a fan of this. I know we tried it against Wigan, and I think it was against Wolves. No, Brighton, yes. But Saka, man, I think he needs to be out of the team entirely. So because right now the guy he just can't find form from anywhere. With an option like in the number 10 position, we should have played either Max Down or one area on the right hand side. So I fully agree with you, Dom, on that. It can actually be an option for us. So finally, great teams are usually defined when everything is imperfect. So are we going to adapt to the loss of this player? Are we going to find new solutions? Are we going to allow this injury expose us? One thing is clear. If we choose another player in the team is a difference maker, and unfortunately is unavailable for selection. It's so sad to see that at this point in time when he's speaking very good form, we can't use him. But that's football for you. These things happen. So I think I'm done. I'd like to hear your thoughts about this. What do you think about Eberechi Eze? Tom, thanks for your comments on the chat. Always appreciated. Until then, come on, you Gunners.